there and welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to speak about British comics. So I enjoy watching a lot of Booktube channels and I like seeing all of their comic book coverage, and I too love Spider-Man, I love Marvel, I love DC, I love Batman, Iron Man. In fact, Batman and Iron Man were probably two of my favourites when I was younger. And comics were introduced to me by my father, who was a big Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange and Iron Man fan as a kid. But we had lots of British comics too in the UK, and I don't see these being referred to as much on Booktube, so I thought I'd bring some of them to light. The first I'd like to speak about is Commando. These were a series of small black and white kind of pocket-sized comics set around kind of World War One and Two, and they were, boys' adventure books, really, adventure comics. This one was 28p. Most of these I will show you were ones that I remember seeing as a child, so I've rebought these based on the covers. They'll mostly be from the late 80s because that's when I was most into these. And they were cheap and they were a very good, fun read. And I used to pick up especially Commando when I was away on my holidays. In the summer holidays I would pick up issues of Commando to keep me busy, probably just to stay out of my parents' way or something, to be fair. We also had some cheaper everyday comic books. Now, in the UK, a lot of our comics used to come in the form of the newspapers, the funny papers, things that used to come in, comic strips on the bottom of the newspapers. And a lot of those, we had a kind of comic equivalent. We had the Dandy, with Desperate Dan on the front there. This was, how much was this? 20 pence back in September 88. And we had the Beano. I did prefer the Dandy, but the Beano was very popular. Had Dennis the Menace in it. 22 pence for the Beano in the winter of 88. And then we had probably what was my favourite. Now, at the end of the 70s, we had a comic book come out called 2000 AD. This is an issue I remember from 1993 that I picked up. I got into reading 2000 AD in the late 80s, and I was banned by my mother from getting it anymore from the newsagents. But my dad used to squirrel them away in the shed and let me read them there. And by 1993, I was old enough to just go and pick them up myself and read them whenever I wanted. And these were a bit more adult than the ones of the books I've already shown. But they used to star very famous characters over here. Strontium Dog, Halo Jones, Judge Dredd, things like that. And we had, fantastic art in these, lovely, very detailed. This is really a science fiction comic book strip. It was all kind of serialized. You'd have 5 or 6 different characters or storylines going each week, and you'd buy an issue each week. I mean, by this point, these were 60 pence. And yeah, it was a little bit different than the American style comics. I used to pick those up mostly when I went to my grandparents, because there was a newsagent there that used to have all the latest issues of your Spider-Man, your Batman, Avengers and the rest of it. But, week to week, British comics were the way to go. Your 2000 ADs or your Beanos, depending on how old you were, of course. And we had a real wealth of comics, British comics, as well as access to all of the great American comics as well. And I'd like to introduce some comics to my channel. Now, I would like to start a project where I'll read an American comic and a British comic, and I would have like 2 comic storylines going on the channel each year. I don't want to introduce too much in the way of comics because I do tend to read more books than comics, but it is definitely part of my reading journey. And please feel free to put in any kind of comics you read as a child or that you still read now in the comments below, and so we can have a discussion and I can see some of what is still being read out there. Cheers.